It's always a big day of college football talk here at MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football, but in particular, Miami talk today. Not one, two Miami live streams kicked off here by Paul Scoop on the U, talking up the Canes here. Paul, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Mark. Thank you again for another opportunity on your show. I greatly appreciate your time and you as a content creator on college football. So thank you so much for the opportunity. It's a very exciting day for yourself and myself. Of course, you're going to have Wholesome One at 4 p.m. We're also doing a Miami Hurricanes YouTube roundtable. We have a bunch of great Canes content creators such as Wholesome One, Coach Hayes as well, Coach Coop, all about the U83, Caned Up as well. And my co-host Brad will be on with us. So it's a great day to talk Miami Hurricanes football.
There you go, folks. You got your day planned out for you. So lock it in right here at MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football, for the next few hours here with Paul, and then with the Wholesome One at 4. Then you head on over to, is it going to be on your channel?
Yeah, it's going to be on my channel, The Scoop on the U. Just type it in. You can even type in Paul Scoop on the U. It'll show up as well. So we'll be going live at 8 p.m. Eastern time, and we'll be able to rock and roll then.
All right. National Signing Day on Wednesday. Not much news for Miami in particular, but really across college football as National Signing Day is shifted to December. Had about 10 or 15 of the top 150 players make their commitments and sign on the dotted line Wednesday. But again, nothing involving the Canes. But looking at 2021's recruiting class, fringe top 10 class in the nation, according to all the major services. Just your thoughts about what Manny Diaz and his staff was able to accomplish.
Yeah, I mean, they basically locked up the class in the early National Signing Day period, and that's what you want. You don't want any kind of late people not signing early and recruits kind of deciding whether they want to go to another program, keep their mind thinking, dwindling that decision. So that's what you want in your class, everyone to sign early, make sure they're 100% Miami Hurricanes and not have any other teams kind of tamper with their decision. So ultimately, I really like this class a lot. James Williams and Leonard Taylor, 2 5-star recruits, are going to be headlining this 2021 class. There's a lot of talent in this class, Mark, specifically locally. I believe, top of my head now, Elijah Arroyo and Jake Garcia, I believe, are the only out-of-state recruits. I could be wrong. I think there's one more, but it's a pretty heavy local class with a lot of talent. The thing I liked about this class specifically is there are a lot of players who can play multiple positions. They're great athletes. You look at Malik Curtis. He's an athlete out of Bishop Barrow, Fort Myers, Florida. There's also Chase Smith. I mean, this guy is going to be a stud. Chase Smith is about 6'3". He can play wide receiver, safety, outside linebacker, striker. You have James Williams as well. Look at his measurements. That's the defensive end at the Power 5 elite level. But he's a safety coming out of high school. He's a freak athlete. I'm curious where Miami puts him as well. So just naming some guys that we're getting from this class, local guys from the state of Florida, gotta love it. Gotta love the athletes we're bringing in. We're bringing in a few players from Miami Northwestern as well, Romello Brinson and Cam Kitchens, who will make a huge impact at the next level. Rashard Smith as well. And watch out for the under-the-radar recruits such as Deshaun Troutman. This was a guy who didn't really pick up a lot of Power 5 offers, kind of went under the radar with the Miami Hurricanes kind of recruiting scene. Wasn't the most popular name out there. Miami takes a chance, and, man, his film is incredible. So, yeah, just some names to look out for, but there's plenty of guys to talk about.
I just checked you on that, Paul. You are on the money in regards to out-of-state recruits. Thomas Davis out of Georgia, the linebacker, would be the third guy.
Yeah,
right
no,
there.
another great kid, Thomas Davis. I spoke with his father a few times, on Facebook, and, they're very big at the University of Miami. They love the family feel to it. And I think Miami's going to kind of use him as a hybrid at defensive end, as an edge rusher, similar to what they're going to be using DeAndre Johnson for. But, man, this kid is a freak athlete out of South Georgia. He's going to be a star player at the next level. And he comes from a great family as well.
Miami fans, some of you don't realize the advantage that your school, your football program has with the wealth. And when I say wealth, I capitalize it, I underline it, wealth of talent in the state, and especially in the south portion of the state. Take Ohio State, for example. Ohio is one of the top 6 or 7 or 8 football playing states in the nation, but it's not number one like Florida. It's in the top 6 or 7. Ohio State signed 22, 23 players, 6 from Ohio. They had to go elsewhere. Other football programs, you look at any other football list outside of Miami, and in regards to the states, they're spread all over the country. Any other program has to go outside of its state to get talent, and Miami can stay right at home and get the best talent right there. They just have to do it. And, of course, they did it here in 2021, but you got to pile recruiting class after recruiting class to start to build toward winning ACC championships. All right, Paul, so we got a question coming in from Shane, and it falls right under some of the topics you wanted to hit on. With the coaching additions, do you see instant fruit, or do you see gradual improvement over the next few years with the incoming of better talent from the recruiting classes in 22 and beyond?
So I see instant fruit. I'll use that word because he's referring to it, instant fruit, in the sense of recruiting. I think instantly recruiting is going to be a complete 180. We've already seen with Travis Williams, he's offering recruits that he was looking at Auburn. There's 2 players specifically, Curtis Porter and TJ Dudley. Both, I believe, are outside linebackers from Montgomery, Alabama. If Travis Williams was not on the staff at the University of Miami, the Miami Hurricanes football staff would have had literally no chance at all reeling in those 2 players. Curtis Perry was deciding between Alabama and Auburn. And the other reason why he was considering Auburn was his great relationship with Travis Williams. So now Travis Williams at Miami, we go ahead and offer Curtis Perry. Hey, we'll see what happens there. But the relationships Travis Williams has built with these recruits, it's phenomenal. He's an ace recruiter. I had Denzel Moore, defensive end out of Grayson High School in Georgia. I interviewed him before he got a Miami offer. He was raving about Auburn. You know why? Because Travis Williams was in contact with him. That's the reason why he was raving about Auburn. Miami goes out and offers Denzel Moore, class of 2023, at defensive end because of those relationships with Travis Williams from Auburn. It's going to be a complete 180 recruiting. Travaris Robinson as well, ace recruiter. Kamari Wilson, he's like one of the top safeties in the nation, I believe, out of IMG Academy. He developed a great relationship with T-Rob down at South Carolina. I don't think I don't think Miami gets a look at Kamari Wilson if T-Rob isn't on this staff. T-Rob's good friend, I think it was a college teammate down at Auburn. He's the head coach at Hollandale. They have some studs in their secondary defensively. That's a great high school football program this upcoming season. Hey, the ball is in our court. Recruiting is going to change completely 180. Now, on the field, I think we're going to see a lot more development in the secondary, specifically cornerback play and linebacker play as well. You know, we'll see what happens. We need to create an identity with our linebacker core. You know, we were playing with McLeod. We still don't have, you know, kind of our starting core. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Tyreek Austin Cave? Is it going to be Corey Flagg, Sam Brooks? Someone's got to step up. So I think we're going to develop some young guys, hopefully.
Got Paul on the line from Paul Scoop on the U. Again, please join him over there. There were some comments in the live chat concerning some content you posted last night, Paul. So let us know what's there because folks, head on over to Paul's channel to catch that as well as get ready for tonight's show.
Yeah, no, it should be a great show. We had a kind of a mini preview roundtable with some great guests, and then Wholesome One came on as well, late edition. It was just a great show overall, and I greatly appreciate that. You know, fans were just appreciative of the show. So thank you again.
Ronan, we hope that you're still on the line. I'm going to dedicate this show to Ronan. Ronan Jones joins us all the time. Paul, Ronan joins us on the Florida State shows and basically says, go Canes, I'm supporting Mark. I don't support FSU. Down with FSU. Go Mark, go Canes. And he joins us on all the Florida State and Ohio State shows just to show up and rep the Canes and support me. So, Ronan, we are dedicating this show to you, Ronan, with a great contribution to us in particular today. So, Ronan, we appreciate that so much. Paul, I'm going to cut you loose until I find another question about what else you'd like to hit. We've only got Paul for about another half hour, so I want you to hit on what you'd like to catch up with. You know,
I know as Miami Hurricanes fans, we want to be great again. I understand that. But let's be patient. Baby steps. Let's win the ACC Coastal and let's compete against Clemson. Not in the sense of just showing up and playing and losing by 30. Let's actually get into a dogfight with Clemson and see what happens in the ACC title game. We have a very good staff. I think this is a top 10 to top 15 staff, honestly, in my opinion. Travaris Robinson picked Miami over the University of Florida. He publicly stated that. We got Travis Williams because they brought in the new head coach from Boise State down at Auburn, and he wasn't going to retain anyone. I think he only retained Cadillac Williams as running backs coach. So we literally got a steal from Auburn. We have a solid staff. We're bringing in Bob Shoop as an analyst role. He won the Broyles Award finalist at Mississippi State, only gave up 12 points per game. That was one of the best in the country. We only give up 12 points per game in the SEC. I mean, that's a stud defense, hands down. Just be patient with the staff and let's take baby steps. Rome wasn't built overnight. Respect the changes Manny Diaz did once again. It was publicly stated it was in Blake Baker's best interest to find another job. And guess what? We reloaded. We brought in the right improvements. We made the right changes. Manny Diaz will be defensive coordinator. He will have Bob Shoop in his ear, helping him with game day preparations, scheming against other offenses. And you got Travis Williams, T-Rob as your ace recruiters, and a very good young and up-and-coming coach with DeMarcus Van Dyke as well. Plus, we're bringing up a developer at the defensive line position, Jess Simpson. What Miami did in 2018 with their D-line was incredible. Incredible. Let's see if we can produce with our D-line. I think we can do something special at Miami, but we just have to be patient and obviously maintain the staff as well.
Folks, do us a favor and hit the like button. Make that contribution just to hit the like button. Head on over to Paul's channel. Again, catch all the great content there, and especially tonight for the big roundtable at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. We'll be back here, 4 p.m. Eastern Time with the Wholesome One. Our guy Matt asking about something you basically hit on in regards to at what point, if everything goes well and we continue to build, are we ready to take a legitimate shot at Clemson?
So here's the thing. This is where it starts. You want a legitimate shot at Clemson? You know what Clemson did after Taj Boyd? Correct me if I'm wrong, Mark. They brought in Deshaun Watson. After that, they had, was it Kelly Bryant as well?
Yeah.
Then they had Trevor Lawrence, who basically took over Kelly Bryant's starting job. They reload at the quarterback position. Who is going to step up when De'Aaron King's career at Miami is done? That's where you pick off where you left off. If Miami can reload at the quarterback position, if they can recruit properly with a top 10 staff every year, win the ACC Coastal consistently, and then start competing against Clemson in the ACC title game every single season, I believe in 2 to 3 years, yes, potentially we can overthrow Clemson. But it's one thing after another, Mark. You need to reload at the quarterback position. You need to have a top 10 class every single season. Or if it's not top 10, top 15. I mean, you need to lock up some of the best players in South Florida, and you need to take risk with under-the-radar recruits that your staff evaluates as well. And you cannot swing and miss in the transfer portal, because that's something that hurt Manny Diaz a lot in year one. He missed with a lot of players: Tate Martell, Tommy Kennedy, Austin Martin. Those are 3 empty spots that you wasted scholarships on that were not utilized. So I think if we can fix that, we'll be all right moving forward. Clemson is a tall task. I know they have, was it DJ Ugale? Is that how you pronounce his name? As their quarterback now. We'll see how he'll do. Sam Howell is another great quarterback in the Coastal. But, hey, let's take care of UNC and let's see how far we are from Clemson if we're in the ACC title game. Because that game in Death Valley in Clemson, giving up over 100 yards in penalties, you're not going to be anyone with that stat. No one. And you're very far away from Clemson if you're going to show up and be as undisciplined as Miami was in Death Valley.
Paul, you ran down the recruiting class for us. It's easy to go to the 5 stars to answer this question, but go anywhere you want. Who are you really excited to see hit the field for this team in 2021 from that recruiting class that you think could make an impact and maybe aren't necessarily the names to think this guy could be a playmaker for us right away?
All right. Last night I mentioned Chase Smith because he's so dynamic. I mean, you can put him in so many positions to perform. I previously have always stated James Williams. I think he's a freak athlete. I think he's going to be a star at the next level. Honestly, we need someone to get ready at the wide receiver position. We currently have 12 scholarship players, Mark. Someone's got to step up. So I'm going to say Romello Brinson at wide receiver will be our third wide receiver in the rotation. And we need someone to step up. What he did against Jason Marshall Jr. when Northwestern played against Miami Palmetto, incredible. I mean, he made Jason Marshall Jr. It was night and day the difference, the one-on-one battle. But hey, if Romello Brinson can translate his game from the high school level to Miami, and I know it's a tall task, but I think he can be an instant impact player from game one. And it's an open competition in the wide receiver room because after Mike Harley, and Charleston Rambo still has to prove himself. He hasn't even, stepped on campus, I believe. We'll see what happens in spring practice, but the competition's wide open after Mike Harley. It's wide open. It's not D. Wiggins or Mark Pope. We're moving on from that. So whoever wants it.
You bring up Charleston Rambo, and I want to remind everyone, if you want your comments, your questions responded to by Paul and myself, just leave them there in the live chat. Have you had a chance to look at Charleston Rambo, a guy that caught 25 passes this past year, 43 the season before?
Yeah, he's very electrifying. You can use him on the outside a lot. I like him as a deep ball threat. He reminds me a lot of Mike Harley, actually. I think he's quicker than Mike Harley. That's just my opinion. Has long arms. I really like him a lot. I know he dropped like 7 or 8 passes this past season, so that was an issue. But hey, let's see what can happen at Miami. But someone actually mentioned to me, I forgot who, they stated Charleston Rambo can win you 2 or 3 games. If we can just assemble a wide receiver that can be that X factor, something that we hadn't had per se, some say Braxton Berrios, I would agree. That go-to receiver where everybody knows the ball is going to him. It's just a matter of fact, if you can stop him, Miami can be very successful next season. They need that X factor receiver, that go-to guy. So if Charleston Rambo can win us 2 or 3 football games just by himself as a player, that would be great.
Matt's got another comment and question here about the wide receiver position in regards to who was recruiting wide receivers the last few years. Why are so many of them so immature? Seems like Bama gets dudes and we get kids.
So, yeah, I mean, listen, you have a lot of Ron Dugan's recruits, okay? Top of my head, Brian Hightower, Mark Pope, D. Wiggins, for example. Those are just 3 names off the top of my head that, I guess in a sense, Mike Harley. Yeah, Mike Harley was recruited by Ron Dugan's as well. So Mike Harley was the only receiver so far that's panned out. Brian Hightower is transferred out. The other 2, hey, it is what it is at this point. I don't like to talk down players, but I hope they can rebound from this next season. We have a new wide receivers coach in Rob Likens coming in. We had Taylor Stubblefield before. He wasn't the best recruiter, best developer. He's gone from the program. Let's see what Rob Likens can do, with his new second year under the program. If he can implement a new wide receiver rotation, we'll see. We'll see how he can develop with these young players. Jeremiah Payton. You have Michael Redding III, Xavier Restrepo, Keyshawn Smith. Now you have Rashard Smith and Romello Brinson coming in as well. Let's see what can happen with their development. New wide receivers coach, and he did a great job at Arizona State recruiting wide receivers as well. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, a lot of comments made by wide receivers. In the live chat, your evaluation of Rashard Smith, you just mentioned him. Keyshawn Smith as well. You expect him to break out.
And Mark, just to go back to that question real quick, because I left this out. Miami did not evaluate well at the wide receiver position. They missed out on Tutu Atwell, who was not a take of the staff. He was a very short quarterback at Miami Northwestern that Miami didn't see him translate to the Power 5 level. You missed out on Anthony Schwartz, NFL wide receiver who was at Auburn, Elijah Moore, NFL wide receiver who was out at Ole Miss. Those were not takes at all. Miami did not evaluate very well at the wide receiver position. I think this is my opinion. I could be wrong. They need to take away the 7-on-7 highlight films or stop evaluating players from there. What can they do with pads on? The benefits of this new staff will be felt. What was this question? Sorry for.
Yeah, we got Ronan chiming in with the benefits of the new staff will be felt most in the first year or two when the recruits start hitting the field. What I'm hoping for the most is to see T-Rob will help improve the linebacker and cornerback play.
Yeah, no, that's going to be completely huge as well. We're bringing in recruiters and developers. Like I said beforehand, I'm not trying to pick on anyone on the previous staff. Recruiting was an issue at the cornerback position. Development at the cornerback position as well. It's been up and down. Michael Jackson, nice 2-star recruit, under the radar recruit. Miami landed from Hoover, Alabama. We developed him very nicely as well. So Malik Young, his career was hampered by an injury per se, so that was tough, but I thought he could have had a nice career at Miami. D. Delaney, once again, another transfer portal player guy. It's tough to develop a player within a year, Adrian Colbert as well. I thought he did very nicely his time in Miami, but it's been a rocky road. We see that without Blades, DJ Ivy, Corey Couch did a great job this past season. So, hey, I think you're going to see this cornerback group really shine this upcoming season with Travaris Robinson. Is a completely different kind of fundamentals he preaches. He's a very aggressive cornerback coach, So I'm really looking forward to that.
I hope that once we get to spring practice, Paul, that we can get a lot of information and a lot of tape from these from the dedicated scrimmages where the guys are really going at it. It's almost like a spring game. We just don't get to see it. And then the final spring game, based on if nothing else, the backup quarterback battle, because of the Eric King status, the backup quarterback situation is going to be vital.
Yeah, so I had Manny Navarro on my show probably, I think, last week, and he said the expectation is De'Ara King will be ready to go by July. But always, I think the most important position, on your football team is your backup quarterback because, in football, injuries do happen, obviously. It's part of the game, next man up. So your backup quarterback position is very important. And for developmental reasons as well, you have Tyler Van Dyke, Peyton Matoka, Jake Garcia, Nkosi Perry. Manny D has already stated the expectation is he's going to take his 3 classes and then graduate from the University of Miami, enter his name in the transfer portal. That's the expectation. So he's out of the picture regarding that matter. I think, honestly, it's a big question mark for me. Does Jake Garcia come in as a true freshman, really shine in spring practice? Tyler Van Dyke, we haven't seen a lot of him. We saw him mop up duties against UNC, like literally 1 drive, 3 downs. I mean, you can't really, it's a grain of salt. You don't know what to expect. I've only heard great things about Tyler Van Dyke from people around the program. Peyton Matoka, I had Larry Bluestein, who covers recruiting in the state of Florida. He spoke very highly of Peyton Matoka. He says he has a great arm, great athletic abilities. Do not count him out. But we need to develop these players. We need to have them get reps. So this spring is going to be very crucial for all 3 of those quarterbacks. They're all underclassmen. So, one's going to pan out. I just don't know who. It's a big question mark. So it's going to be very interesting to see. But if I had to bet, I would say Tyler Van Dyke, but look out for Peyton Matoka. Don't count him out.
The ACC released its schedule last week. I've got to say that this Miami non-conference schedule is the toughest one that I can remember. Of course, Alabama's the headliner. Best football program in the country. Michigan State's not what they used to be. They're down, but still it's a Big Ten team. It's going to be formidable, big grown men getting pushed around. It's going to be a physical game. Miami's decidedly more talented, should win that game by 2 touchdowns minimal. Should, but it's going to be a physical game, and they're going to have to be ready to play Michigan State. And then App State, always ready to play anybody, anytime. The little train that could kind of mentality out of the Sun Belt Conference, and has been in the class of that league for years. So where Miami typically plays one difficult, semi-difficult opponent in the non-conference, and then has a lot of Bethune-Cookmans and Arkansas States and the like, Toledo's, it's a difficult non-conference schedule.
Yeah, no. I mean, Michigan State's going to be ready to go. Mel Tucker is a very good football coach. They're going to keep playing all 4 quarters no matter what. They're not going to stop until the whistle is blown. Then you have App State, who, hey, they were a scrappy team this past season. They're bringing in Chase Bryce. Miami already played Chase Bryce when he was at Duke, so it'll be their second look against him. But the thing about App State is it's right after the Alabama game. So after you play Alabama, whether you win or you lose, you have to, put that aside and just be ready to go.
Absolutely. You cannot let Alabama, as the saying goes, beat you twice by being so down. Even if it's a 42-10 game, you can't let that ruin your season. You're playing for a Coastal Division championship to try to tackle Clemson and be a much different football team in December than you are at the beginning of September. That's another mark of great football programs, is that they get better throughout the season and they clean up the mistakes, and the coaching takes to the players. And I don't know that we've seen that out of Miami for a long, long time, where they've been a better team at the end of November than they were in September.
Yeah, and another key thing, too, is that, you're playing UNC and NC State back to back. Okay, like NC State's not a bad football team. We saw this past season, we were in a shootout with them. Then you take out Bailey Hawkman and you throw in their real starting quarterback, Devin Leary. He'll be fully healthy, ready to go. You better be ready. It's going to be a home game, but it's after playing UNC in Chapel Hill, an away game. That's going to be a close game. It's going to be a shootout. Miami it's always a tough game in Chapel Hill. It'll probably be a night game as well. So look out for that game as well. UNC, NC State, what happens there? And, Florida State, man, it's going to be a different football team. We're going to be playing at Florida State. I'm not expecting the blowout we had in Miami Gardens at Hard Rock Stadium this season. I think it's going to be a little bit closer. Obviously, it's going to be more of a football game, but I really like Mackenzie Milton a lot. I know they don't have the strongest offensive line unit, but I'm curious how this season pans out down at Florida State. So just look out for that game as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of people that are Miami fans need to be listening to what you just laid out there, because I think the thought process is that, okay, we're probably going to lose to Alabama, and we've got the big game against North Carolina. That's the game we need to win the division. And then all the other games are afterthoughts. We're going to win them all, and we're going to go probably 10-2, 11-1, because that's going to be the season. Ooh, wait a minute. Yeah, NC State is not a great football team, but they just turned in an 8-3 season. They picked up a top 20. I think they were ranked 23rd in the recruiting rankings. Dave Dorn knows what he's doing, and they built a pretty good football team there. And obviously, like you say, that was a 44-41 shootout in which they had a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. And, the Virginias and Pitts of the world have continually given Miami a game each and every year. So, and we'll see what Justin Fuente and Virginia Tech have for this season as well.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's another program, and that's always going to be ready to go every single season. It seems like he's on the hot seat every single year. So, Bronco Mendenhall is also another coach he's a good football coach. What he did at BYU was very impressive. He had a scrappy offense. I think NIA is how you pronounce their offensive coordinator's name. I mean, he runs a scrappy offense. They just didn't really have a quarterback. Armstrong was just a watered down Pat White, if anything. I don't know. I don't know how to describe him as a southpaw quarterback. I really don't. So. Well,
you're in trouble at quarterback when you trot 3 of them out there, and they all have numbers in the 80s and 90s. Like one of them's number 98 and 37.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. With all the transfer portal options out there, I don't know how you don't find a quarterback nowadays. that can throw the ball. I mean, let's be real. None of those guys. I mean, it was just literally they were just running the football the entire game. It was a high school offense.
Yeah, but I am impressed with Bronco Mendenhall. For him to always be a West Coast, I know BYU's not close to the West Coast, but that half of the Mississippi, always his entire coaching career out there, for him to come all the way east, go to an academic school where it's difficult to recruit and sign players, and he took over. He made the statement, and other evaluators backed it up, that Virginia had like 15 legitimate ACC football players on the roster when he took over. And, he had to suffer through a 2-10 year where they just got kicked around, and he just knew he was going to have to suffer through that kind of year. And he's built them ever since. He wins a division title last year in 2019. He can coach. They don't have anywhere close to the talent that Miami does, but he can get it done. Carroll City Kane, appreciate your Super Chat contribution here. I wait another year with King, possibly look into the future with TVD, Toka Garcia. Are we really going to wait one more year? They will probably transfer. So we've got somebody here in Carroll City King 305 that wants to see King out the door in 2021.
Ignorant question, ignorant picture as well. Just ignorant all around, Mark. So let's just move forward. De'Ara King is the future of this football program. So.
Yeah, so what I appreciate the Super Chat, Carroll City Kane, and we see you on here all the time. But, man, I am no Miami expert. I watch everybody play, and you know my deal. I watch Miami play. But there's no question, De'Ara King, I think because of the running dimension that he brought to the table, that I would rate him above Brad Kaya in looking at the best Miami quarterbacks over the last 15 years.
100%. 100%.
If he was just a thrower, then I'd say maybe Kai is better, but you bring the running dimension into it. I thought Kai was the best quarterback that I've seen Miami play, put on the field since, the mid-2000s, 03, 04 in that range. But now De'Ara King's better than him.
Yeah, like I said, De'Ara King, he won us a lot of games this past season. The performance he had against NC State was incredible. That's probably the best performance I've seen from a Miami quarterback in a very long time. He's the future of this program. This team's going to go as far as De'Ara King helps us out. So
appreciate everyone that's encouraging people to smash the like button. So don't forget to do that. Join us here at 4 o'clock Eastern Time with the Wholesome One talking Miami football. And then at 8 o'clock Eastern Time with Paul and the rest of the roundtable there on Paul's channel. And while you're over there, smash the like button and subscribe.
Appreciate it, Mark. Thank you again for having me on your show for a quick segment. It's always a pleasure to talk Miami Hurricanes football or just college football in general with you.
Yeah, absolutely, Paul. We know you got to run. We'll let you go. Hopefully, we'll have you back soon. I may address a couple more questions and comments before we get us all set up for 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Paul, have a great day. Appreciate you jumping on with us.
Appreciate it, Mark. Thank you.
Paul Scoop on the U again, 8 o'clock Eastern Time tonight. He's got a roundtable on his channel. We're going to be back here at 4 o'clock Eastern Time with the Wholesome One, talking more Miami football. And who knows, maybe Cam Underwood, State of the U. We've been in contact to try to get something together for later this week. So plenty of Miami football content here at MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. Want to remind you that this channel and this particular show, any of our Miami Hurricanes live shows, are possible because of your individual contributions, and also we're looking for sponsorships. So if you own a business or are in direct connection with a business that could benefit from sponsorship here, please hit me up at MarkRogersTV at Gmail, MarkRogersTV at Gmail. Next week, I am going to fix college football scheduling. We're going to tear it up, and we're going to reformat it the way it should be, to where it's equal. We're going to attack in-conference scheduling first, that needs to be fixed, and then work our way to non-conference scheduling. That needs to be fixed as well, and we have a airtight way to address that. The only way you can't address it, keep this in mind, is that when you build a schedule, you never know how good the teams are going to be when they play the schedule. So the schedules can never be completely fair because you don't know who's going to get hurt and you don't know how good the teams are going to project the next year. Just because Virginia goes 6-6 one year doesn't mean they're going to be 6-6 the next year, but you can at least base the schedule on the previous year's results to produce and build an equitable, fair schedule for everyone. It is not fair, for example, when I'll take this case example from about 7 or 8 years ago, and I can give you a million of them, when Alabama and LSU play in the same division. And they play each other, they play everybody else in the same division. So that's 6 light games out of 8 conference games. And then Alabama plays Tennessee and Kentucky out of the other division with a combined 2-14 record in conference play from the previous year. And LSU plays 2 teams in Florida and Georgia who are 14-2. How does that make any sense? And I can give you a million examples of that, and we will fix it, clean it up, reformat the scheduling both in conference and out of conference. So I will deliver that video series next week. And the reason we're doing scheduling first is that will then set us up to build a playoff format that works. But the scheduling has to make sense and it has to be equitable and work before you can build a credible playoff system. So the scheduling comes first, then the playoff system. All right, anything else here in the live chat? Carol City King 305 says Matoka is Johnny Manziel 2.0. I got to agree, Manny, that De'Ara King came through big time this year. That NC State game in particular was just a masterpiece. So you can't even look at the statistics for De'Ara King on the deep ball because there were so many drops on perfectly thrown deep throws. And then also keep in mind that going into the Virginia game, Miami had horrible deep throwing statistics. And then it switched on a dime. They obviously worked on the communication, the chemistry, the timing that De'Ara King and the receivers had starting with the Virginia game because the deep throw game improved incredibly. And against the decent NC State defense, that game was lights out from the standpoint of throwing the ball downfield. I was mighty impressed with De'Ara King, and also the wide receivers stepped up finally in that game and held on to the football in the deep passing game. You cannot expect to complete 60% of your passes downfield. That just doesn't happen. That just doesn't happen. What you were looking for are your main goal is you're going to hit chunk plays that wipe out 4 and 5 first downs in one throw. And also you're challenging the defense downfield, stretching the defense, and setting up other things underneath, both in the run game and the pass game, by taking your shots, calculated risks downfield. You're only going to complete 35, 40% of those balls way downfield, but they chew up a ton of yardage and create those chunk plays, and also, again, set up the defense for other things you want to do underneath. Got Mike Williams stepping up here for Brennan Armstrong, Virginia quarterback. Scares me the most. He can beat teams with his legs alone. Yes. Lenny the Gump. Appreciate that. Hit the like button. Got Razorbacks rules. Appreciate that. Love the videos. Keep them coming. Keep doing what you're doing. Appreciate that so much. You guys can't in any way realize, so don't underestimate your encouragement through your words. Appreciate that. Razorbacks rule has Miami at 9-3 next year, so that's a loss to Alabama. That's most likely a loss to North Carolina, and then they trip up against somebody else, whether that's NC State or Pitt or Virginia. Probably not Florida State. I think that situation is going to take quite a while to clean up. Eddie the Cane, good to see you here as always. 904 Hurricane saying here, Miami needs to steal 2022 quarterback Ja'Cory Brown from the Gators. The Hurricane family needs a start showing this kid some love. Okay. So I'd have to look at the schedule again, but Matt is telling us that the Virginia game's on a short week. That must be a Thursday night game. Vincent, Mark, say college. I'm not understanding your comment here. Mark, say college times loss 11 coaches and 85% of their scoring offense. What would you predict for their upcoming year? Okay, if a particular team loses 11 coaches, and 85% of their scoring offense, what would you predict for their coming year? I'm guessing you're talking about Alabama. Did they lose 11 coaches? Alabama's lost 85% of its scoring offense and yardage offense, if that's who you're talking about. But Alabama's just a different breed, different kind. They're going to be one of the 3 best teams in the country next year with a 5-star and Bryce Young at quarterback, who, yes, when Miami faces him, he's going to be fresh and green and raw and inexperienced. But by week 5 or week 6, he's going to be hitting on all cylinders, most likely. Lenny the Gump Summers. I think the most disappointing aspect of Miami football that I saw this year, or the most disappointing example, was exactly what you're pointing to on the defensive side against North Carolina. They gave up 62 points to one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the nation and one of the 5 most prolific offenses. Therefore, if you would have told me before the game, North Carolina is going to score 62 against Miami, I would have said, well, that's horrible. That's pathetic. That's an embarrassment. But I can see with protection, with those North Carolina right and left tackles keeping Jalen Phillips and Quincy Roche out of the backfield, Sam Howell had a field day. He threw for 500 yards and 6 touchdowns. No. He only had to throw the ball 19 times. They ran it down your throats. So that was offensive line dominating the line of scrimmage, and that was those 2 backs, Javonte Williams and Michael Carter, just completely ripping through the defense. It was tough to watch from a physicality standpoint that Miami's defense didn't get ripped to shreds in the secondary, blowing coverages, getting beat man-to-man. No, they got beaten up by grown men up front and in the backfield and just could not hit or tackle and wrap and bring guys down. That was a true butt kicking physically. The Rod Farva supplying us with Miami's future out-of-conference games, which include Alabama, of course, in 2021, home and homes with Texas A&M, Florida, Notre Dame, South Carolina as well, and I believe that's South Florida. All right, folks, I believe we've done some good work here today with your help here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. We'll be back in just about an hour, 4 o'clock Eastern time with the Wholesome One to talk more Miami football, please, in addition to liking the video, if you enjoy the conversation here, then just imagine how many other people would as well. Let's get these, we should get these live shows up to 500, 600, 800 viewers. So please share the videos out on social media. There are people out there that are in contact with you on Twitter and Facebook that have absolutely no idea who I am and that we are here talking college football with you every day. So please share the videos out on social media. Let people know that we are going to be here at 4 o'clock Eastern Time with the Wholesome One talking Canes with you. See you then. Matt, I do not have a Bama channel. We've got an SEC channel. So look up Voice of College Football, SEC.